So today I'm going to be talking about an episode that pretty much nobody's asking about. No one is really searching for it or talking about it in the education space because I don't think that they're really thinking about it until it's pretty much too damn late. I'm going to be discussing how to slow down aging as a teacher so that you don't have to play catch up later on in life when you kind of look at yourself in the mirror and wondered what happened. So just a little bit of background here. I am 45. Oops. I'm gonna turn 45 this summer. I just round up. I always round up. And somehow I had the foresight since my 20s even to take care of myself early on. So here are some of the things that I've done to not only stay looking younger longer, but also staying relatively healthy despite the stressors of teaching. Okay, so the first part of this obviously is taking care of your body, okay? You have to take care of this vessel. Your skin, namely, is the biggest organ on your body. So we're going to talk about that first, because that's the part that you notice the most in terms of aging. So the first tip that I have for you is sunscreen. And I know that you've heard this before, and everyone's talking about how you should always use sunscreen, but you need to always use sunscreen. And here's why. The sun's rays, the UVA and UVB rays, they are pretty much like chipping away at your skin. And it's basically chipping away at the collagen in your skin, which starts to kind of dry up, and that's what causes you to look older. The collagen is what keeps your skin looking plump and keeping you looking young. And so if you expose your skin without any kind of a barrier called sunscreen, then it's going to cause more damage. So the number one thing that I can tell you in terms of anti-aging is sunscreen. And getting a good sunscreen is pretty much a journey, because the sunscreen of my day, back in the day, they were really greasy and thick, and no one really wanted to use them on their face. I did anyway, but not enough. I only used it like if I knew I was going to go to the beach or be out in the sun or something like that for an extended period of time, which is pretty common when you live in San Diego. But I did use sunscreen, and it took a while before I found one that I really, really liked. And after spending money on it and finding one that I can bear, I use it all the time, even inside the house, because I don't know if you know this, you might not know this, sun gets through your windows too. So go ahead and take the time to find a sunscreen that doesn't feel, greasy on you, or maybe you have really dry skin, so then having more of that moisturizing feeling isn't such a big deal. What I love about Amazon or even like Target, actually a lot of drugstores, you can return things. So you can try something out and then you can return it if you don't like it, if it causes any kind of irritation, or it causes like some sunscreens, they like make your face kind of look lighter. And then like when you take a picture, it looks like there's this white cast over your face. And so you just have to find the sunscreen that works for you. And I'll link in the description some of the ones that I use religiously. Again, I use them even when I'm just going to stay at home. I use them even on a sunny day, on a rainy day. I just pretty much make a habit out of it. So I'm going to link to those below. I also don't forget about things like my neck. I don't forget about the tops of my hands. I mean, you guys, if you are like a little bit younger, like in your 20s and 30s, you probably still have like nice, smooth hands, right? And you don't really maybe see any veins or anything like that. But as you get older, because if you think about when you're driving and you put your hands up on the steering wheel, all the sun is getting to the top of your hands. And so that's actually one of the places that shows you're aging first. You start to get these spots on there, and then the skin starts to get really thin on there, and then you can start to really see your veins. And so if you put sunscreen on the tops of your hands, and some people are like, okay, Kim, this is a little bit excessive, but it's really hard to fix it later rather than being preventative now. I actually have gloves that I wear in the car, and I have a sunshade that I put on my window because on the driver's side, all that sun's coming here. And so you'll actually see yourself aging faster on your left side of your face, unless you tend to be the passenger, then it'll be the right side of your face. But I put a sunscreen there, and I have driving gloves, and I had a friend that was like, Kim, you are so Asian, because I had all of this sun protection. And I'm like, yeah, but check me out when I'm 70 and people still think that I'm in my 50s. So I know maybe you don't want to do something that extreme, like putting on gloves or putting sunscreen on the tops of your hands, but if you can at least get it on your face and your neck, don't forget about your neck, then that will go so far in terms of preventing your face from aging quickly, especially if you live in a sunny place or you really like to be out in the sun a lot. You gotta wear sunscreen. And apparently we're supposed to be reapplying it every 2 hours. I will admit that I don't do that. I just don't think about it to do that every 2 hours, especially because I'm inside my classroom. So even just getting one layer on, a good thick layer, SPF 50 or more, you're gold. Okay. So the second thing in terms of taking care of your skin is retinol. So when I was a teenager, I started using Retin A. I don't know if you guys have heard of that for acne, because oh boy, my skin was so bad. And so I used Retin A ever since I was like 16, and I actually haven't stopped using it. And that is something that really helps your skin out in terms of keeping your pores from being blocked and keeping the collagen in your skin so that, again, it doesn't like dry out. Well, I wouldn't say dry out, but it doesn't make it so that your face starts to wrinkle up and sink in. If you think of collagen, it's like a grape, versus if you didn't have a lot of collagen, it would be like a prune or a raisin, right? So you want to keep that collagen in your skin. There are other people on like TikTok and YouTube who are a lot better at explaining how retinol works, and I follow a lot of them. But the point is, you want to start using retinol probably like in your 30s. I started early only because of acne, but if I didn't have acne, if I had started in my 30s, I still would have had the same effects. And if you aren't listening to this until you're later on in life, you can still get the benefits of retinol, especially tretinoin. That's the medical prescription grade stuff. That's a little bit harsh, not a little bit, a lot of it harsher on your skin, but you're going to have faster effects than if you use the over-the-counter drugstore retinol. But still, using either form will help keep your skin turning over so that the stuff that's on top, that's like the dead skin, that's going to come off, and that'll keep like recycling the good skin, and that'll make it so that you don't really see as many wrinkles. So like, I don't have any kind of a filter on me right now. If you go onto the video on YouTube, unless you're watching this on YouTube, I turned off my camera filter and I have very few wrinkles. I have no crow's feet. I have like a couple lines here, like on the sides of my mouth, nose area. I do have my little like frown lines here, but they're not as deep as they could be. And a lot of that is because of the retinol that I use and because of the sunscreen that I use. So those together are a powerhouse. And retinol you only use at night because the sun degrades it, so it doesn't really work that well. So you use the retinol, Retin A at night, and then you use the sunscreen during the day because retinol also makes you more susceptible to sunburn. So if you're going to use retinol, you have to use sunscreen. If you refuse to use sunscreen, don't use retinol because you'll just get sunburn and that'll just make your wrinkle even faster. So just think about that. But I highly recommend retinol. So the next thing that I do so that I don't age very quickly is I don't smoke anything. So, you know, I know that like in many states, marijuana is legal, but I don't smoke that. I don't vape. I don't smoke cigarettes. And if you do, I mean, you already know like the whole like lung cancer thing, and you already know about like, you know, how it affects your body. I don't need to tell you that. I'm not going to lecture you about that. But I will tell you that you will age twice as fast as anybody else because you're smoking, because of the chemicals in the smoke that comes out. They just have a really bad effect on your skin. The shape that your mouth makes when you're smoking, and it causes like these wrinkles around the sides of your mouth. And so you'd want to think about that. In addition to obviously what's happening inside your body, you're going to notice that people who have smoked a really long time, they age a lot faster. It's just a fact. And it's really hard to prevent that because of the double toll of the internal stuff that's happening from the smoking and the external stuff that's happening from the chemicals that are attacking your skin. Now, similarly, something that also can make you age faster if you do this in excess is drinking alcohol. Not water, alcohol. So, I mean, technically, alcohol is a poison. And I know that some of you are like, you cannot take my wine away from me, Kim. This job is too stressful. And I understand that. You know, there are also studies that say that a glass of wine has really good effects on your body. But doing that in excess, any kind of binging, it's actually really dehydrating. You need hydration in order for like all of your organs to work well, including your skin. So if you're someone who like is so stressed out from teaching that you go home and you binge drink every night, that's just something to think about because that's going to also make your body age faster. So if you can keep that down to like a glass of wine a night or a beer a night and just like minimize the amount that you do drink, that's going to also help it so that you age slower. I'm not telling you not to drink. I'm just saying minimize the amount that you do. Similarly, hydration, I already mentioned this, like you have to drink a ton of water. I don't know how teachers cannot drink a lot of water. We do so much talking that I just feel like if you don't drink enough, not only is it not good for your body because your body needs hydration, but also it's definitely not good for your skin. You'd be amazed. Like if you decide that you're going to drink like a gallon a day, like some people can manage that. If you can drink a gallon a day, you're going to see huge benefits in your skin. And I'm not even exaggerating. Huge benefits. Okay. Now, I don't mean like just liquid. So I'm not saying a gallon of liquid, including Mountain Dew and soda. No. I mean water, maybe iced tea or just tea in general. You can add that to water. Things that are healthy for you, like tea and water. Otherwise, it's probably not helping you in terms of hydration. So go ahead and consider increasing the amount that you drink. I mean, you don't have to quite get to a gallon. I know that's really hard for some people. I have like my water bottle here that I'm showing on my video, and I drink at least 2 or 3 of these a day. Plus, I also have like some other beverages that I drink, like protein drinks and things like that. I make a smoothie in the morning, but you just definitely want to stay hydrated, and that's going to slow down the wrinkling because you want to keep doing these things that'll keep your skin plump so that it doesn't kind of like dry out. And again, think of a grape or a plum versus a prune. You have to keep things hydrated if you want them to stay plump. And so that's inside and out. Okay. The next thing in terms of taking care of your body so that the aging process slows down, I kind of don't need to tell you this, but exercise. You've heard this. I'm not going to give you a lecture on how to exercise or what exercises you should be doing, but basically getting your heart rate up. I'm getting that blood pumping. When you become sedentary, that also makes it hard for your body to function properly, to get the blood going where it needs to. It can lead to things like hypertension, high blood pressure and high cholesterol and things like that. So even if you're just like walking your dog, if you have a dog, walking your dog twice a day, or just like taking a walk during your lunch break, that can really help in terms of keeping your body more youthful and functioning better so that you don't age as quickly. I mean, if you think about it, like there are times when I have to like squat down and pick something off the ground, or I have storage shelves that are low and I have to bend down and get things out. If you're not moving enough, if you're not staying limber and keeping your body active, that stuff hurts. Like it hurts after a while. Even at 45, there are times that I'm like, I haven't worked out in a few days, and I can feel that. I can definitely feel that. So consider just adding some exercise to your routine. Again, I'm not telling you to like join a gym or a yoga class or Pilates or anything like that. Not that I have anything against those, but I work out at home because I just can't be bothered to leave my house to do that kind of thing. But that's definitely going to help keep your body functioning better. I'm not talking about weight loss or anything like that. It's just going to keep your body functioning better. Also, I want to add to that, obviously, is diet. You definitely want to eat things that are going to nourish you. And as we get older, I've done a lot of research on this. As we get older, your protein needs are more important than your carbohydrate needs. I'm not telling you to go keto or Atkins or anything like that because I don't do that. Your girl needs some rice and bread and chocolate. I need that kind of stuff. But my point is, I prioritize protein first before vegetables, before anything else. Every meal, I'm thinking about what is my source of protein, because from what I've researched, you need protein to maintain muscle. And one of the things that happens as we get older is muscle loss. And muscle loss later on in life, also, in conjunction with bone loss, can lead to getting injured more easily. And so what we want to do is we want to maintain our muscle as much as possible as we get older. Am I telling you to lift weights? I think it's a really, really good idea. But the point is, if you prioritize protein, you're going to lose your muscle a lot slower. If you prioritize protein and you lift weights, well then, you can pretty much just like maintain your muscle. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to gain muscle, but you can at least maintain it, which is really good as you get older. Like, especially when we get into like our 60s and stuff. When we retire, we want to be able to move around and go travel and, live it up after being such good teachers and like giving so much of ourselves to our students. So you want to maintain your body so that you can go and like be crazy and take salsa lessons when you're 65 or something like that. So proper diet, meaning prioritize protein, of course, vegetables, and they want you to not eat that much processed foods. I would be a hypocrite to say not to eat a lot of processed foods because your girl likes her baked goods. I love my rice, although that's not really processed. But again, I prioritize protein always. And of course, the last part in terms of taking care of your body is sleep. I wish I could be better at this. I would love to get 8 hours of sleep at night. I probably could, but I would love to. So I get between 6 and 7 hours a night. I know some people who get a lot less because they're up late doing work, social media, whatever, but set yourself a bedtime and stick to that. Now, the reason I don't get a lot of sleep, I'm going to be honest, is because I get up at 4 in the morning to work out. I know that sounds crazy, but I have to prioritize exercise because I kind of have like health factors that make me more susceptible to things like stroke. Like I have high blood pressure and high cholesterol and things like that. So exercising helps me keep any kind of heart disease away. And I have to make sure that I go to bed by a certain time so that I can get at least 6 hours of sleep. So usually I'm in bed between like 9:30 and 10 so I can get my 6 hours of sleep. I would love to get 8, but I also know that by the time I get home from school, I just don't have it in me to work out. So sleep is really important. You can definitely feel it when you don't get enough sleep, and you can definitely see it on your face when you don't get enough sleep. You know what I mean. And also, can you really be there for yourself, your family, your friends, and your students when you're not taking care of yourself in terms of sleep? So I have a lot of friends who have a hard time sleeping. I don't know if you've tried things like melatonin. I've used that before when I've had some issues with insomnia. It's not common for me. I actually sleep really well, but when I have had difficulty, I've used melatonin, and I'm going to also link to that in the description, the one that I use that doesn't give me a hangover. Because sometimes when you use melatonin, it can make you feel super drowsy later on. And so you want to test it out like on the weekend. If you decide that you're going to use melatonin, I wouldn't like try it on a weekday because you might be sleepy during the week. And I know some people, they like to try to make themselves go to sleep with alcohol, but actually studies have shown that alcohol messes with your sleep and you don't get as restful sleep, like the REM dream state sleep. And so that's why things like melatonin or CBD can really be helpful in terms of helping you get more restful sleep. So that was taking care of your body. Now, you also want to think about managing stress, obviously. I mean, our jobs are so stressful, you guys. Like, I'm at a point, this is my 21st year of teaching, where teaching is easy for me. I have to be fully honest with you about that, but it's still stressful. In the day-to-day things, it can get really stressful. So here's how I manage that, how I'm at the point where, in general, I don't stress out about teaching as much as I used to. So the first thing is, I use my days off for mental health days, and I have no problem about that. I have no shame admitting that I'll just have a ditch day, and I will make sure that I plan my lessons leading up to that day that I'm going to take off, so that the substitute, no matter who it is, maybe I won't even have a substitute, but whoever has to come and cover my classes, it's relatively easy. I'm setting the substitute up for success so that I can feel comfortable when I take that day off, so that I'm not stressed out that like my students are pulling the posters off the walls and like standing on the desks and, you know, turning into Lord of the Flies. I make sure that I lead up to it so that I can have the mental health day that I deserve. And a lot of times I'll do it like on a Friday, sometimes a Monday, although it doesn't feel as satisfying on a Monday. I also don't like to take a mental health day on a day that I have my planning period, because I feel like that's a waste. I want to have a ditch day on like a day when I have to teach the whole day, because I only have my planning period every other day. It's just not worth it if the sub is only teaching 2 out of my 3 classes. I want them to teach all 3 classes. So use some of your mental health days just for you. And it doesn't mean you have to go and like do something. You can just stay at home and binge watch something, especially if you have kids and they're off at school or daycare. Send them to school or send them to daycare so you can have some time for yourself. Or if your kids are older, if you want to take them with you and you guys go and do something, like they have a day off too, that's fine too. I have no judgment against that, but the whole point is to take some time for yourself. Don't feel bad about it. There's so many teachers that feel bad about it. There have been times when sometimes it's not worth it to take a day off because it's so much planning and work to take that day off. But then I realize that's stupid. It's totally worth it to take the day off to just sit and do nothing, or go and have brunch with my entrepreneur friends who can take time off whenever they want. I really encourage you to do this at least once or twice a year, maybe like once or twice per semester, something like that, so that you can refresh And then I love taking a day off on a weekday because like no one is out and about. It's really peaceful. And it feels great knowing everyone else is in school while you're out and about. Another thing that I do to manage my stress is I deprioritize teaching, meaning teaching is not the center of my world. It was in the beginning. I mean, I really was like, I'm a teacher and I do all these things and I do all these things for my students and my school and my community. And maybe you're that way too. And it feels really, really good. But then as time went on, I have made it less of a priority for me. And what I do is I give my all while I'm teaching. And then when I'm not teaching, I give my all to my personal life. Before, definitely teaching and school would bleed into my personal time and my personal life. So then basically I was giving everybody about, 60 or 70% of myself because I only had so much to give. And now when I'm at school and I'm planning or I'm grading or I'm teaching, they get 100% of me. But then when I'm not teaching, whatever else in my life, that gets 100% of me. And so that's the work-life balance, is to not allow it to bleed in. Sometimes I will grade at home, but I plan for that. So especially like if I have a looming deadline and I have fallen behind because I didn't use my planning period well, or let's just say that I gave a huge assignment, like essays can take a long time to grade. If you're an English teacher, you know what I mean. And so I will block out like 2 or 3 hours on one Saturday or one Sunday. But that's something that I'm consciously doing. It's not something that I'm doing out of guilt or panic. And it makes it so that I don't have to give up unintentionally my own personal time. So deprioritizing it and focusing on yourself, but not like,
I won't do a second of work outside of school.
It's not that mentality. It's more like, I don't have to. It's very like laid back and matter of fact. I feel like some people get so like, about not doing work outside of school. And I don't have that attitude about it because I love my job. And sometimes it does deserve extra time for me, but I feel like my personal life, I'm going to guard that and I'm going to prioritize that. Also, along with that is I practice gratitude all the time. I'm constantly marveling at how lucky I am for my family and my friends, the house that I live in. I'm always grateful for my job. I mean, I have a job and I'm good at it. And I know some of you don't necessarily feel that way about your teaching job, but I find ways always to be grateful about teaching and my job. I'm grateful for my students. I'm grateful for the fact that even though my administrators aren't like the strongest administrators, they stay from my way. They truly just stay out of my way and let me do my thing. And from what I read about some of your situations that are listening or watching, like your admin are crazy. So I am truly grateful for what I had. Some of the teachers in my school don't like them and they accuse them of being ineffective. I'm like, you guys, when our next admin comes in, they're going to be the kind that's going to be all up in your face. And then what? I would much prefer someone who just stays out of my way and lets me teach. So I'm just grateful for so much. And I find that when I choose to focus on that rather than on things that are going wrong in the world or that, things that come up in my life that are really challenging, I find that I'm a lot happier. So I think that's one of the reasons why I have been able to thrive as a teacher for 21 years. And I haven't felt like I have to try to like survive and drag myself across the finish line. It's because I focus on the good and I focus on things that I can control. And that's a huge part. I can't control a lot of things. And so I just choose to not worry about it. And finally, one thing that I do to help me manage stress is meditation. And I started doing this during the pandemic while I was locked down in my apartment. And at first I was like, I can't do this. This is dumb. And I would just fall asleep. That was the best part. I would just fall asleep while meditating. But, I used different apps like the Calm app and things like that. But then I just went on YouTube and I found different meditations and I kept looking for ones that really resonated with me, ones where I felt really relaxed at the end, where I wasn't necessarily falling asleep, although I still sometimes fall asleep. But if you just find some that don't feel weird to you, that don't make you uncomfortable, I don't know if you know what I mean. Like sometimes there's certain ones like guided meditations that just make me like want to turn it off and walk away. But I found ones that I really, really like. And so meditating really helps you clear your mind. I'll do it between 15 to 30 minutes a night. I do mine at night. Some people do theirs in the morning, but I'm working out in the morning. So 15 to 30 minutes at night, sometime before I go to bed. Maybe that's why I sleep so well, because it helps, calm me down. down and it helps center me, especially after I've had like a stressful day. It just makes it so that my brain kind of shifts and rewires, and then I can go to bed and be peaceful, and I can wake up and see things from a different point of view so that I'm not as stressed out the next day. So that like sunscreen is kind of a journey in terms of finding meditations that will work for you. If you feel like you can't meditate or you don't understand how to meditate, just find something that's recorded and guided, stick it in, sit in a room with your eyes closed and just try. You'll never know until you try. I can't meditate in silence. I have to be listening to something because I hear every single sound, but I would just recommend finding something that resonates with you. And there's all kinds of meditations for also like different types of moods. So maybe you want like a meditation for feeling more grounded. There's also meditations for like manifesting money. There's meditations for working on like self-worth issues. You know, like if you're feeling really down on yourself, then there are ones to help you with that. So I would research that on YouTube. It's so personal. I could give you recommendations for that, but it's a journey to figure that one out. So again, no one's asking for this episode, but I hope that you found it helpful because it's just something that we don't always think about. We don't think about ways to take care of ourselves as teachers. I mean, we hear so much about self-care, but that's kind of like a term that a lot of us have sort of started to resent because, you know, now it's being used by admin like, ooh, focus on self-care, go to yoga, things like that. But it goes beyond that. It goes really in terms of taking care of your body and your mind so that you can really be present, whether you're teaching or not, whether you're parenting or you're teaching or you're doing your hobby. You just need to take care of your body and yourself before it's kind of too late. There's going to come a point where if you keep abusing your body because you think that you're invincible, your body's going to have a really hard time, or maybe it won't be able to recover from that. So the sooner that you guys start, the sooner you start slapping on that sunscreen, you guys, the better, because trying to get rid of the signs of aging later on in life, it takes a lot of money and it's painful. I don't know this from experience, but boy, have I watched it. And I've actually known some people who did things like getting like peels and laser and stuff like that. And their recovery was kind of gnarly. I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to poke needles on my face. I mean, I have tattoos, but those are the kind of needles that I like. I don't want the kind that's like injecting stuff in my face. I just want to age gracefully, but very, very slowly. So I hope that you got a lot of value out of today. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to hear more tips, not necessarily on anti-aging, unless you like this, let me know in the comments, or you can email me and let me know if you want to hear more about this kind of stuff, because I'm kind of a geek when it comes to anti-aging stuff. Now, if you're someone who maybe is a little bit more of an introverted teacher and it kind of kills you that you're not like really like the fun outgoing teacher, but you still want a fun classroom, go ahead and click on this video next, and I have some tips on how to do that so that you can still be true to yourself but have a really fun classroom.